Hey again guys, and welcome back. In my latest mailbag video, I got these high CRI LEDs from Amazon. I really have to test these out relatively soon because if they're not what they claim to be, they have to go back to Amazon. That being said, I also don't really want to cut the strips up into more manageable pieces because if I send them back, I don't want them to be destroyed. So I have to figure out a solution to make a nice LED panel that I can use for either lighting this bench here or my wife's Twitch streaming. And I have to do it in a non-destructive way to test the CRI of the LEDs. And yeah, so basically that's the challenge today. So first things first, I need a power supply because this is no good if I can't power it. And the power supply has to be relatively powerful because it pulls almost 4 amps at 12 volts. So it's going to need to be a big one. Thankfully, I'm a functional hoarder, so I may have just the ticket. This is my box of power plugs. And somewhere in here should be something suitable, but if not, I'm going to have to order it off of Amazon. So let's start here. 16 volts, 4 amps, so no good. What do we have here? Oh, here we go. 30 volts, 330 milliamps. Also no good. This is a laptop charger, so it'll be probably 18 or 19 volts. What do we have? 18.5 volts, 3.5 amps. Somewhere in here, there's just got to be something. 12 volts, 3 amps. Okay, so if we cut the strip a little shorter, this may work. But I want to avoid cutting the strip if possible. 24 volts, 2 amps. This may actually work, but again, we would need to cut the strip because we would just have half the strip in series with the other half. I'm starting to fear as though I won't actually have it. 19 volts. These little guys, I doubt they're going to be strong enough. 12 volt, 1 amp. These massive transformer guys, probably not a good idea. 12 volt, 1 amp. What's this say? 32 volts, 625 milliamps. It's not looking good. I don't want to lose a quarter of the strip and use a smaller adapter, and I really didn't want to cut the strip. Maybe for testing there's something I can do. Actually, it seems like there is something I can do. This is the power supply I've been using for my this guy. It is 12 volts, 4 amps, so it'd be running at the ragged edge. But again, this would just be for short-term testing. If I needed something to actually power these permanently, I would just probably order something on Amazon. So this is not a bad option. But now we need to find an adapter to adapt this barrel jack to those 2 open wires on the LEDs themselves. Although I don't use this for anything else, so I could cut this and then just use the screw terminals here to power this. But now that we have this, we have to figure out a form factor. For those of you new to photography and stuff, the smaller and further away your light source is, the harsher the shadows. So on my bench here, if you'll notice, you can see my fingers, right? If I bring it closer, you can see it much clearer. And as I go closer to the light source and further away from the back here, the shadow gets sort of distorted. That's because my light here is about, I don't know, that's a good question, 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters, so it's fairly large. And if you compare that to over here, you can see that well defined over on this shadow. So basically I want the biggest light source possible while still being compact enough to put up over the bench here. So I think I'm going to use this stuff here. And sorry for swamping the camera like that, but this is foam board. And foam board is just literally foam with paper on top. And I figure if I just do, like, let's say a 1 foot by 1 foot square, I can wrap the LED strip around it and hopefully get the whole strip in, I think it's 5 meters, if I do it tight enough. And then I'll have all the lights in one small space and I can easily mount it to stuff. So I'm going to see if I can do 1 foot by 1 foot. And then basically, instead of peeling the tape off of the stuff, I'm just going to tape it down with Scotch tape. Again, this is all temporary in order to see if I can get it working. You know, this is not permanent in any way. So I don't think this is how the final product would be. But I don't know. In my industry, I often say that there's nothing more permanent than a temporary fix. So there we go. Make sure I don't have anything important underneath. I do not. This foam board is extremely cheap. You get $1 at the US dollar stores. In Canada, I think it's $1.50 per sheet. But you get quite a bit. You can do a lot of stuff with this stuff. A company called Flight Test is all about making airplanes, RC airplanes, out of this stuff because it's so inexpensive. They offer free plans on their website, I should say. And yeah, you can cut and glue this stuff together in such a way as to make an RC airplane. All you need to do after that is add a motor, some servos, remote control battery, and away you go. There we go. See, it works really well. I'm not concerned about sort of doing this wrong because A, it's temporary, and B, this material is so cheap. So next is to lay out the strip. And so I could do it in a zigzag back and forth, but I don't want this to bend over too hard. So I think I'm going to tape it down like this and then go around the corner here. And yeah, some LEDs will be probably, you know, up and not at a good angle. But it's better than the alternative. And yeah, I'll go around this whole thing and then we'll see if I can fit the whole thing in. So that could be time consuming. Probably going to speed this part up. Well, here's the result. So if you're going to complain that they're not laid down flat, this is not the way I would do it if this was permanent. This is just the way I'm doing it so I don't destroy the strips and I can still send them back if the CRI is actually not 90 plus. So if the color representation isn't great off anything lit by this, I can still send it back. Also, it turns out 5 meters isn't as much as I thought when you factor in the folded corners. So these could actually spread out a little bit better than that on this thing once I can do the individual strips going side to side, but I do like the 1 foot by 1 foot form factor. Next thing to do now is to cut up my power supply, get the wires out and connect them to these wires and see if it still lights. I don't really want to do this, but I really don't have a choice. So let's see, will this come off or is it actually, yeah, maybe I should do it right over here. Shoop, it's gone. Alright, so what do we have as far as cabling in here? It's going to be pushing this power supply a little hard. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't expect this to have a coaxial type cable. Not a problem, it still works, but it's just going to be a little bit more awkward. Not a lot more awkward, just a little. Alright, let's take the sheathing off the inner. I'm assuming the inner is positive, but obviously there's no way to know until I check it. Alright. So now we need a multimeter. Actually, to be fair, this one here already have leads on it. So I'll put this to DC volts. I'm going to plug in this power supply. And red in the middle, black on the outside, trying not to short them out. There we go, 12.33 in the positive, so yeah, positive is the middle pin here. I can turn this off now. I'm going to use these little quick connectors. Also got these in the most recent mailbag video. Ouch. I'm going to pop that on to the positive here. Oh, I don't know if I stripped it far enough. Yeah, seems alright. Again, testing purposes. And this one here goes in. Whoa, that one is not stripped far enough. Maybe I should unplug this before something catastrophic happens. So that one's good. Strip a little bit more back of the negative side. I might just open it up instead of sliding it over. Still doing this in shot? I hope so. There we go. Some of those strands got chopped a little bit. Not the end of the world. Okay. And these things have a really heavy lock to them. There we go. Yeah, it's solid. And then that also gives the positive more space, which is good. Make sure all the little strands are in there. Good. All right. Now we can bring in the strip over here. Maybe I'll flip this around so it's not super bright to you guys. And gray here is negative. Yeah. White is positive, gray is negative. So positive in there. And negative in there. Okay. All that's left is to plug this in. And there we go. This is now fully lit with just these LEDs. Well, not just, I guess. I would have to shut off my main lights like that. Whoops, that also shut off my power supply. What was I thinking? Shut off my main lights like that. And this here is a potential into the future of the channel. So I would have one on that side and one on the other side. As you can see, since it's a large light source, look at the shadows, how not well defined they are. That's great. These are actually getting warm to the touch. So I think a little bit more space would be better. And I do think, even though my camera hasn't recalibrated itself for the colors, but I think you can see the red in my hands better. Yeah, it does seem to actually have a decent CRI. Nice. Although this is not very scientific, I think this is the best way that I can demonstrate the difference between my regular video lights and the high CRI LEDs. So over on your left is an image I took under the regular lights, and on the right is the high CRI LEDs. Now they're both different color temperatures, so I let the camera do the automatic adjustments, and then I adjusted the tint and the color temperature to be as close as possible. So as you can see, the colors are a little bit more faithfully represented on the high CRI LEDs, although there are some parts of the image where this is not really that obvious. Now, to my eye, I like the high CRI for the blue and the reds, but the warmer tone of my regular LEDs makes the yellow look a little bit better to my eye. But then again, this will depend on which monitor and which device you're using to watch this video back, and I did not do any color grading in post. So that's it. I think they do a better job overall, and I think I can now go into production and build a couple of light modules to light up my wife's stream and maybe even to light up these videos. I want to thank you again for watching. Make sure you're subscribed for more content, and I'll see you on the next one.